Today on We Really Like Musicals and we have opinions about them, so we made this podcast to tell you our opinions about them, parentheses, the musicals. We are talking about Oliver, exclamation point. It's time to review the musical and the situation. So take a break from your fine life of selling boys to morgues and join us as we pick a podcast or two. We're here for as long as you need us. Please, sir, I want the theme song.
So we made this podcast to tell you our opinion.
Really like musicals. Jazz hands.
Hey everybody, welcome to We Really Like Musicals and we have opinions about them, so we made this podcast to tell you our opinion about... you know what? I think that's the second week in a row I've messed up the title. I'm just going to stick with it.
Actually,
Anyways,
last week you did it fine.
No, I'd never said parentheses the musicals.
Oh, is that what happened?
I just left that out.
The musicals,
The musical. Yeah, I think so. So, anyways, this week, guys, we're talking about Oliver, a.k.a. Charles Dickens Presents The Case for Child Protective Services, the musical. Thanks to @DaveCruz for that alternate title. Remember, guys, if you have alternate titles, you can hit us on Instagram at We Really Like Musicals or on Twitter at WRLM Podcast.
You said they can hit us?
Hit us. They can hit us.
Okay.
They can punch us.
Excellent. Didn't know I was signing up for that, but...
Is there anything you won't do for fame?
Apparently not.
Not really. Now, you might be thinking, where was that mysterious voice coming from? Guys, let me tell you. We have my good buddy Rodney. We talked about him coming on the show last week, and, you know, here he is. He did not bail, which is good. Thanks for not bailing,
You're
Rodney.
welcome. Yeah, I try.
You know, we've talked about you on the podcast before. Did you know this?
That's what about me? I thought I was mysterious. If they know things, that takes away the veil.
True. We talked about, I don't know, what did we talk about? We were talking about La La Land.
Basically, you said your good pal Rodney knows a lot of facts, and so you...
About La La Land.
Yeah.
Well, and just random movie facts. You're pretty... is that safe to say you know a lot of random movie facts?
I would say random, not random. Most movie facts in general.
Okay.
I'm a cinematic cacophony of knowledge.
Oh, there you go. And words, apparently.
Good
all
at
about
words.
that alliteration.
Now, Rodney, you said, hey, when you do an Oliver episode, man, what did I almost say? Ovular? You said when you do the Ovular episode...
I did. Those are my words.
I want to be a part of that episode. Now, why? Explain to me why you like Oliver so much. And not just part of her.
There it is. I was just waiting. I was so excited about that joke.
Wow. No, I think it's such a neat musical that I probably saw way too young, so there's a little bit of sentimental value in it for me. And I really, really enjoy it. I think it takes place at an interesting point kind of in film history where a lot of formalism was giving way to realism, and so it's this really interesting blend of theatricality and grit. And everyone's singing the whole time, and you know, what's not to dig about that?
Yeah, that's weird. You see, you saw this at such a young age, whereas Elise and I'm James, by the way.
Oh,
Don't think I
I'm
introduced
Elise.
myself. This is our first time seeing this. I thought it was great. We watched it last week, and I was pleasantly surprised. Elise, you watched it last night, I believe?
Sure enough.
And what'd you think? I sound like Bugs Bunny just then. What'd you think?
What's up, Elise?
I had no idea. You know, remember how last week I was confused about what the story was about? And I felt that way about this week as well. I think I probably knew the story back in like high school.
No.
Ovular.
Rodney, will you give our audience, for those of us who are unfamiliar with the story, kind of like maybe a synopsis of what kind of the story is? What's the gist of what's going on here?
And will you also add in accents as well?
I think I can probably handle that. All right, so for those who don't know, Oliver is the story based on Charles Dickens's novel about British orphans in, you guessed it, Britain.
And so Oliver is a wee little lad whose singing voice is inexorably high. He kind of sounds like a soprano of sorts. And he is in this prison jailhouse type of situation in which he and all the other lads / prisoners very commonly walk in unison while singing. You know, the normal things that go on in a prison. And then he, after being sold to a morgue, is flighted away in a field of manure onto the back of a carriage and goes to jolly old London town, where everyone also sings and dances, much like his prison situation. So, you know, he felt right at home. As the song goes, you know, consider yourself one of us at home and whatnot. So that I feel like the accent is going in a lot of directions. I feel like we've covered a lot of accent ground.
I think
from beginning to end, it's really changed.
I think you started in northern England and just kind of moved your way southern.
Yeah,
you did the journey of Oliver.
Yeah, I felt it was appropriate.
Yeah,
you know, that's what I was going for.
Wow.
It was an intentional decision. So he ends up in London and is kind of befriended by this young boy, the Artful Dodger, as he is, and he's kind of introduced into this world of thievery and of pickpocketing, and he's just so taken by it. It's the first time anyone's expressed interest to him. He has such a desire for a family. He wants to know where love is, and so he kind of ends up in this gang of misfits and thieves and tramps, and basically a Cher song is the situation. And he starts pickpocketing, and lo and behold, the very first time he does it, gets arrested, but is then very benevolently saved by the elderly man who he was robbing, takes him in as his own. This does not sit well with the gang of thieves, who decide they need to flight him back to their lair or den, as it were.
The Fagin lair.
The Fagin lair, to
My
make
favorite
sure...
layer of dip. The Fagin lair.
Well, it does do some dipping, but that's the end of the movie. Let's not give the carriage away before the horse. And so they kind of hatch a scheme to get him back, afraid he's going to give some things away. And along this journey, we meet some really colorful characters, some really tragic characters. I think it's very, very in the theme of Dickensian novels. So that's the basic synopsis, I think.
Bravo.
Way better
Well said.
than any time we've ever done a synopsis.
I think that was mainly because of the accent.
I don't know. I'd like to think the words had a lot of value there.
Well, yeah. It's hard to not do the rest of this podcast with all of us in accents, honestly.
Oliver
in accents. I loved this story, but I'm a sucker for these weird, like, old London accents anyways. As soon as the Artful Dodger starts talking, and he's like, consider yourself, or whatever. I can't do it. At home, yeah.
Well, there's something about people who talk like this where all of their R's are kind of like W's, and it's very endearing. You just really like a young lad who talks like that, and is like, well, hello, and just how can you not love him?
Yeah,
that's very true, though.
It's very lovable.
It's very lovable.
like do your best Michael Caine. It's lovable. Oh, speaking of Michael Caine, by the way, you know, he auditioned for the part of Fagin in the original stage play of this.
I didn't know that. That's fascinating.
Are we already doing facts?
I sprinkle them where they're appropriate.
Whirlwind ride.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, we normally do favorite songs. I'm going to start with least favorite. And keep in mind that when I say least favorite song, I don't mean it's a bad song. It might be a great song. I'm just, you know, if you had to rank the songs in the musical, which one would you put at the bottom of the list?
I would say, oh gosh, that's hard. I would say the weakest musically, even though I understand what they were doing thematically in the plot, is probably Boy for Sale. It just has this like very melancholic dirge sound to it.
Yeah.
And it really fits where the story is. It also, to me, it reeks the most of Broadway. Broadway has this very common trope of kind of recurring a musical theme and just kind of swapping out words, but it's basically the same song for like half the musical. And I know that a lot of cuts were made to the cinematic version of Oliver, and I kind of get the vibe from that was probably among a lot of that expository singing, kind of like those chunks of Phantom of the Opera, for instance, where just they're like sing-talking for no real reason because we need more singing.
Yeah. I thought about Boy for Sale being my least favorite song. I even like, you can see my notes, Boy for Sale least with a question mark.
Not sure.
I think it's still my least favorite song, but as I kept thinking about it all through the week, I would say, oh, I hate that song. But it would be stuck in my head all week. Boy for Sale, like that very opera's big deep voice that guy has. I had to base this because I like a lot of the songs. I had to base this on whether or not I feel like the song is even something that needed to be in the story. And I feel like that was a scene like, hey, we're going to sell the kid. It doesn't need to be a song. Like selling a kid doesn't need to be a song. But then I felt that way about Be Back Soon as well. I really liked the song Be Back Soon, but like even while it was happening, I thought, do we need a whole song about him saying goodbye? Like, or hey, come back soon. And I get it because it's like, it was kind of foreshadowing to where like Oliver doesn't come back. But at the same time, I was like, okay, we get it. You're saying goodbye to these kids and they shouldn't be out long. Like, be back soon.
I feel like Rodney has an opinion on this.
Yeah.
Well, it's so interesting that you say that, just because the song, I agree with you on a plot level, doesn't serve a lot, but I think that the story is so much more than plot. Yeah. And so to me, I think Fagin is such a fascinating character, and I think he's played so brilliantly in the film, and he was up for the Oscar that year. I think it's a really interesting character because there's so many tones to him of inappropriate to leering to scary to a victim, but there's something very human about all of those things, and I think the humanization of that character he really just imbues into his performance. And so that whole song has this like paternal, like, I'm sending my boys off,
yeah, I guess so,
and I want him to come, and watching him even just send them off, like, playing a fake flute and singing and dancing and making a number out of it, because even though he's the primary corrupter of these kids, there's something in him that cares about them deeply, and the duality of that is fascinating. And then to put this jolly, like, we're skipping up and down the stairway song to it just adds this other layer of just like, wow, there's such complexity here of not just plain tones of bad guy, good guy.
Yeah, now that you put it that way, I guess I liked that song.
Can't really argue with that.
Well, let's just say then, if I had to pick between the two, then Boy for Sale. Yeah, I'm on board with that one. Elise, what would be your least favorite song?
Well, what a great question that you're asking me.
Well, I ask it every week.
What? I don't recall. I don't know. I mean, I feel like this is just so dumb, and I feel like no one will agree, but I didn't really like Oliver.
Oliver.
I just felt like...
what were the
Next.
words? Never before has the boy wanted more. Yeah, on the soundtrack, they mixed that song with Food, Glorious Food, so it's almost like just one big, like, what is it called when you put two
medley?
Songs? Medley, yes.
Words.
What is words? Where is words?
There you go.
I can see where you're coming from. I don't necessarily agree, but I don't disagree either. I'm just kind of neutral on that statement.
I mean, I think because we've had the conversation before of bringing up the name of the musical in the musical. And
yeah, it's weird.
And whatever, I don't care. But I just feel like if you're going to do that, it better be good.
Yeah, and it's kind of like an afterthought song. Because it's sandwiched between Boy for Sale and Food, Glorious Food, which are the Food, Glorious Food. I love that song.
Yeah.
And I love the kids. The kids walking around, even the way they eat with their spoons and all in unison.
Did you all not eat that way in the public school system?
Yeah, our principal didn't stand up on a balcony and tap his staff against the floor.
I found that to be a really normal experience, actually. I don't know what you guys were doing in kindergarten, but
we should address that later, probably. We'll talk about
Well,
it.
you know, the Florida school system's kind of problematic, but
Oh, see, yeah, I
Uh-oh.
grew up in Louisiana.
that's what it is. That's
Should
what
have
it is.
been worse.
Yeah, what's that supposed to mean?
Nothing. Let's move on.
Okay, so what about a favorite song? Elise, I'm going to ask you first.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I really like the song I'd Do Anything.
Anything.
Anything?
Anything. But I think part of it is because that scene is just really cute and funny to me with all the kids creating the carriage out of their bodies.
Yeah, I was
And,
impressed.
yeah, I was like, they've done this before. They've put on this show once or twice. I know they didn't just come up with that. But it was cute, and I think it shows that, like, they're just kids, and they want to have fun, and they, you know, their way of life isn't just this one thing. Like, they're just kids. Kids love so big, and it's just kind of a reminder that, like, they would do anything.
The way they act, it's almost like they don't realize what they do for a living. You know?
Yeah, they
They just go out, pickpockets, come home, and have a great time. Like, they don't understand the magnitude of their thievery. When it started, I was like, where'd this come from? But then the more it kept going, I was like, please name more things they'd do anything for.
Please, sir, may I have some more song?
Rodney, what about you? What about your favorite song?
It's interesting because I love Elisa's favorite song too. I love that song and the parasols and all of it. And to me, a big part of that is we've already been introduced to Nancy, but I think that song is when like 8-year-old Rodney, the full-on like falling in love with Nancy occurred during that song. I'm pretty sure like everyone with a beating heart comes to that point. So to me, my favorite song is actually, I think, close to the end of when we realize like there's probably not any positive trajectory left for Nancy as she's singing "As Long as He Needs Me," and it escalates even more with Oom-pah-pah, and then when she says that line of she's speaking to who turns out to be Oliver's uncle, and says to him of I have to go back, and then more for herself than anyone else, I want to go back. Almost as if convincing herself. I love As Long as He Needs Me, and it's just that long walk down that staircase, and there even comes to be like some horror tones during the song. Like it's this spirally, like if a spiral staircase had a sound, it happens midway through that song, and you realize like it's this woman is in this abusive codependent relationship, and she's literally pep talking herself down the stairs after, you know, her live-in boyfriend, which is such a different thing contextually in 1800s Britain, and has beat her, and now she's really telling herself he needs me. Because she wants to need him. And I think it's a beautifully sung song. It's not a big showstopper, but it's just so impactful in the film.
Yeah. I think it's songs like that probably helped propel it into the Best Picture winner of the Oscars that year, because it was such an impactful song without having to do much visually. It just kind of let the solo be the solo, let the melody be the melody. But then, yeah, like you said, it was just filmed kind of on that staircase, just her kind of walking around, but you still connect with it. You're not just like, next, please, next.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you mentioned the filming, is this was at a time that Hollywood was doing really big. Like I feel like it's very part and parcel with like the giant bomb that was Cleopatra that Elizabeth Taylor did, Ben-Hur, like it is for musicals what Ben-Hur was for chariot racing. It feels that level of big, and musicals were very much an indoor studio experience, and this made it big. So even that quiet moment, watching it in 65mm Panavision, her going down the staircase, it going through the cracked windows, there's real visual. It's not just stick a camera and point at it. There's some finesse to what's being done on screen, and even the framing of that staircase at the top, and we see many characters almost all seem to do a lot of reflecting on that staircase that then comes to be a major plot point later on. And you see London in the back, and it's probably a painting, obviously. But there's something beautiful about that silhouette, and the moon is always there. And we later see Fagin deciding what he's going to do with his life on that staircase. So just the production design of it and the filming of it, I love the epicness that was given to something that typically wouldn't be.
And I thought it was pleasing to me, the audience, because after that happened, that's all I want to know is what does she think about what just happened and what just went down? What's her take on it? What's her opinion? And then she says, I'll tell you in song. And it also kind of opens up, like, you get kind of what has happened in the past, like, because I was kind of curious, like, is this a normal thing? Is this something she's used to? Or is this like, I feel like the song kind of explores the idea that like, this is always how it's been. This is always how it's going to be. There's no change. And it's just kind of, she's in love. So she's okay with it.
It's crazy how many characters in this musical have this moment where they go, I shouldn't be living how I am. But then they just kind of go, but whatever. Even at the end with Fagin, you think he's about to take off, and then he's like, nope, changed my mind. So many people are like, they know the right thing to do, but just life circumstances just creep up on them, and they go, but this is a lot easier just to slide back into what I've always done.
It's a level of I think, learned helplessness, because I think there's an internal level to it that people give themselves stop, but when you live in a world that tells you, like, this is all you are and this is all you will be, that shift in it makes me think of another one of my favorite musicals that explores the same thing. I know you guys have done an episode on in Moulin Rouge. After Roxanne, this giant shift in the musical happens, and Jim Broadbent says the words of just like the show must go on, and he makes the statement to Satine of, we are creatures of the underworld. And I think when Sykes hits Nancy, and then that song happens, we start to realize that there really is an underworld here. Because I loved the introduction of Nancy and of Bill, and there was something enigmatic about Sykes as he walked up in silhouette to the bar, but then It's a Fine Life played, which really is still that learned helplessness of, if you don't mind, insert all their problems here, it's a fine life.
Interesting theme there. So, my favorite song. Oh boy. I would probably have to say Consider Yourself. Because that's the real, like, the introduction to London. And it's huge.
Fun.
It's over the top. Yeah, it's fun. And then, honestly, my favorite part, and this is weird, but my favorite part was the transition from the end of the song back into just normal life. Because the song just kind of switches from like what the big production that it is to this weird like carousel music, and it just sounds like part of the atmosphere of the street. And that was honestly like the cherry on top. But then the song itself is just, it's just a fun song to be welcomed in. And if we're to be in the point of view of Oliver, it's such a welcoming song to the gang and the Artful Dodger lifestyle. That being said, I think the most artsy song in the whole thing is probably Who Will Buy, with the roses and the milk and the whatnot and the Jell-O pudding.
I knew that was coming.
That song just kind of doesn't care about the plot for a second. Like, it just kind of says, we're just going to have this awesome number, just make a great song. And it fits the plot, but it doesn't necessarily progress the plot, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And it reminded me of like a Stephen Sondheim song. Just the language like that reminded me of stuff from like the beginning of Into the Woods.
Yeah, I definitely could see that.
But we were talking about how that song is kind of interesting too, because it's kind of the reverse, or maybe not reverse, but like when Oliver gets to London, you have this whole consider yourself, welcome to the underworld type of thing. And then now Oliver's in this situation where he's more living a privileged lifestyle in this more fancier part of London. And what am I trying to say?
It parallels,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it parallels the consider yourself scene, but in a different way. It's like, welcome to this world now. And it's a very different world.
Well, and I think they added a heart to it just because of Oliver's little solo in the middle takes the song from being about that day and into just like, oh my gosh, I woke up this morning and the world was okay. And you kind of get the impression this is the first time this little boy has woken up in a world and it was okay. And he just wanted to like live in that moment. Not even in a world that was okay, but just in that moment forever. And so the song then just milks that. I mean, literally with the milk.
Zing. There's some milk for our babies.
Our spoiled little babies.
I'm going to throw some facts at you guys. I feel like, Rodney, you might know some of these. I want you both to rate my facts.
Rate my facts. fact.
And that's a fact.
Well, the first fact, though, I know you know already.
Uh-oh.
Because we discussed it while we were trying to figure out Skype and FaceTime and all that jazz. Anyways, the first fact is that Mark Lester, who played Oliver, he didn't sing his songs.
Oh, could have told you that. Could have told you that right off the bat.
Well, it was very obviously dubbed, but it didn't necessarily mean that it was dubbed by somebody else's voice.
It did not seem like that was his voice, and I did not enjoy that.
Oh, you didn't like it?
I mean, I don't know, I felt like at first it was fine, and it didn't bother me, and then, I don't know, throughout the rest of the movie, I was like...
It was one of those more theatrical elements that, like, took you out of it a little bit, even
Yeah.
in a grittier story. But there was something that added, like, this cherubic element to him of, like, this little, like, almost like a choir boy, like, who can hit notes like that. And James, will you tell us who can hit notes like that?
Oh, you mean the person who actually sang it?
I'm curious.
The musical arranger's daughter. So the guy that arranged the music for the movie, he was like, he heard Mark Lester sing and was like, nope, not gonna happen.
Why didn't they just have somebody who could sing well?
I don't know. I also read that over 5,000 boys auditioned for Oliver, for the role of Oliver. So I don't know. Maybe after 5,000, they were just like, you know what? We're tired of looking.
Can't have
We're going with a
everything.
girl.
It's like the end of Some Like It Hot. Like, nobody's perfect.
Just,
Wow.
I'm not sure. Because I thought the boy did a fine job. Maybe that's why. Maybe they just thought, you know what, we'll sacrifice singing ability for the innocence, because he really does play such an innocent character so well. And that's another thing that's interesting about the plot to me, is that Oliver, like, doesn't really, like, it's called Oliver, but he's almost like a ball in a pinball machine getting knocked around by all these circumstances. And, like, not a lot has to do with him actually doing anything, but the situations he's put into.
I think he's definitely one of those audience conduit characters of just an easy way for us to get knocked around these situations. And yeah, I think even as we're talking about the casting, it's interesting because historically in musicals, you always wanted someone who was what we would now call the triple threat. They could sing, they could dance, they could act. And this shift happened where the performance kind of became key in the 60s. I mean, My Fair Lady, even Audrey Hepburn having her voice dubbed, they chose her for the performance, not necessarily for the singing. And this follows in the same vein as that.
Yeah. Or like Emma Watson in Beauty and the Beast.
Don't bring that up.
Well, that's something else entirely.
Should have dubbed her voice.
Auto-tune.
Yeah, so anyways, Rodney, you knew that, but Elise, what would you rate that fact? Because the purpose, by the way, Rodney, is for me I want to get a 10. I feel like I started out horrible. She obviously knew that it was dubbed.
Well, I mean, I'm being dramatic. I mean, I was like, either that's dubbing or I'm going to kill myself. You know what I mean?
She stopped being dramatic now. Now she's just irrational statements.
All right, so just throw a rating at me so I can say another fact then.
I was trying to say I didn't know that for a fact. So I'm going to give it I'm going to give it a 7.
I've had worse.
You sure have. Rodney, have you ever listened to the podcast at all?
No, I just talk with James about it a lot,
Oh, okay,
so I
okay.
feel like I have.
Okay, I just
But
didn't
I'm-
know, how much we should assume and how much we need to explain. So
Oh,
carry on.
no.
Just assume I have no idea what's going
Great,
on, and you're
perfect.
going to be right on point.
Okay,
Who
let's
are you?
see.
Where are we?
I don't know.
What is this?
I'm not sure.
I felt a headache coming on, and then I woke up and I was just here.
He
It was
drugged you to
weird.
get you here? You said you were doing this willingly.
You know who this person is.
If you get enough facts right, you get to go home, basically.
Thank goodness.
Okay, moving on. Speaking of being terrified, did you know that all the kids on set were scared of Oliver Reed, who played Bill Sykes, because he stayed in character the whole time on set?
I believe it.
Yeah, well, good, because it's not fake.
I know, I struggle with that. Sometimes I think you're...
So sometimes I tell her facts and she has to think about it. I'm like, you don't think about it too hard. It's real life. I'm not trying to trick you.
Sometimes, facts aren't as accurate as we think they are.
This might be a good time to say we don't know if all these facts are true. We read them on the internet. So they could be true, they could be false, but we're going to go with the majority of them are true unless told otherwise.
That seems reasonable.
By people on Instagram.
Okay.
What do you think of that? What do you think about intimidation factor?
I mean, I buy it. He plays the heck out of that role. And as an actor, he didn't have that big a career, but everything else he was in, he was sort of creepy.
He looks like the bad guy in No Country for Old Men. What's his name?
Ooh, Javier Bardem.
Yes.
Oh
if I had to
my
recast
gosh.
it, I would make him Bill Sykes.
But Bill Sykes has those blue eyes, and there's something like handsome about him, but he also looks like he's gonna strangle you. Whereas Javier Bardem was just pure menace.
Yeah, true. All right. So what do you rate it then? Come on.
I
It's a
feel
decent
bad.
fact,
I feel like most people could guess that.
All right,
So
all right.
I'm gonna say like a 3.7.
3.7.
Wow. That's pretty
That's
low.
fine.
When I first saw him, I felt like I think I agree with like the handsome thing, and he looked very kind when I just saw
Yeah.
him. I mean, obviously his actions, were kind of horrible. But I don't know. I feel like he doesn't look all that scary. He's just, a guy you would look up to, I think.
Yeah, especially if I was shorter than him.
As all those boys were.
They
Yes.
definitely were.
All right, so he gave me a 3.7.
So I'm going to give you an 8.5.
8.5.
Yeah.
That is generous. I'm kind of judging you right now.
Oh. Okay. Do you want me to give you a lower score or?
No, that's fine. We'll
Even
move
he
on.
knows it's not 8.5 material.
I think a lot of these facts aren't actually that good. I think I have two more, and then we'll do a fact or faked. Dick Van Dyke was offered the part of Fagin. Rate that fact. Our good buddy DVD from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Last eps. Last eps, as they say.
You're just gonna abbreviate everything.
Oh, I can't understand words anymore. I'm going to wait till you're done.
Oh boy, let's move on from this. Okay, so Dick Van Dyke was offered the part of Fagin.
That feels like a fake fact.
Once again, this was real.
I'm going to give it an 8.
So you found that less interesting than Bill Sykes?
Yeah. I'm sticking with it. I'm standing my ground.
All right, that's fine.
Just because that fascinates me, because I feel like he's too likable.
That was what I was going to say. I feel like I'm glad he didn't get the part or turned it down or whatever situation happened, because I just don't see that sort of sinister.
But I'd be interested to see if he could do it.
Yeah.
It intrigues
I'm
me.
not saying he couldn't. I just don't see it. What do you think, Rodney?
See, to me, I think that's like an 8.5 fact. Like that's pretty solid in my mind. Just because I think it would have been a terrible case of miscasting. Because in the vein of what you guys are saying, I think he's a little too jovial. But I think the fact that he was being considered points to the fact that Fagin's not a black and white character, and that he's meant to be likable. He's meant to have a rapport with the boys, which I think he does. Very much so. There is something very fun about Fagin in like a batty old coot kind of way.
Yeah. Last fact. Davy Jones from the Monkees played the Artful Dodger in the Broadway production of Oliver in 1963.
Okay. Good.
The Daydream Believer guy. You guys know the Monkees, right?
I mean, yes, I just never was like a diehard fan or anything, but
You weren't a monkey head?
nope. Can say that I wasn't.
James, was anyone a monkey head?
I don't know.
I don't know that was a term used by anyone
It
until
is now.
in 2017 on this podcast.
It'll catch on.
You're the monkey. So I give that a 3.9.
Oh, boy.
Almost a 4.
0.9. You don't think that's interesting? Davy Jones was the Artful Dodger?
Thought you were going to say Davy Jones' locker.
No.
That would have been more interesting.
The discovery of a supernatural realm. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
like at least a 9.
Maybe a 9.
All right. Well, okay. Rodney, hit me with that.
I would
terrible
give it
score.
no. I actually I'd give it like a 6.9, 6.8.
Oh, wow, that's good.
Like I think it's very interesting. A pop star on Broadway, well-known British band.
I don't know if he was in the Monkees at the time. I think that came later.
Well, now you've heard it. You shouldn't have shared all that.
Dadgummit.
It's gone downhill now.
He's just trying to be, accurate.
Well, let's move on. Let's say that segment's over.
Wait, I thought
You
had
really
one
matter to
more.
us as a person, and I give you a 10, James.
Yay.
Just
Aw,
as a
that's
guy.
nice.
Oh, thank you. That's all I wanted. All right, so are you guys ready to play Fact or Faked?
Fact or faked?
Now that's a fact, baby. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to give you 3 facts, but one of them's a fake fact. And you have to determine, based on context clues or previous knowledge or just random guess, if which one is the fake fact. Here's your first fact. Or faked. When Mark Lester, who played Oliver, received his paycheck at the age of 18, he bought a Ferrari. That is your first
Okay.
potential fact.
Okay.
Second, the boy for sale scene took 3 weeks to film due to the freezing weather conditions. That is your second fact.
Okay.
Third fact, Jack Wilde, who played the Artful Dodger, had to wear platform shoes to appear taller than Mark Lester. Those are your 3 facts. Now, discuss.
So what are you thinking? What's your gut instinct? Do we get to decide together? Is this like a team
I
effort?
feel like you decide and then I decide separately and we see who wins.
Oh, she's
it's so
competitive.
competitive now. Felt like we were allies, and now I just feel like I'm pitted against you.
Okay,
This is fun to
let's
watch.
change it. Let's just be allies then.
No,
Oh,
no. I want to see who wins now.
Okay.
You mentioned competition, and now I was like, ooh, this could be interesting.
Okay.
Okay, so do you need to be reminded? We got
So
the
we've
Ferrari,
got
we got
Ferrari,
the freezing
shoes,
weather
and cold.
conditions. Yes.
I like to
Ferrari,
boil it down
shoes,
to
and
one
cold.
word. Helps me remember. None of them are shocking.
I'm trying to
feel
remember
shocked.
the cold scene, if that looked like it was actually shot outdoors, and it's such a short scene that looks like it's a one take. And so 3 weeks for a one take that I'm not even entirely convinced was shot outdoors.
Now, also, Rodney, you should know that James likes to do this thing where he takes a real fact and he changes one small detail about it to try to trick me.
But not a small
So-
detail. Like, I wouldn't say, oh, he bought a Ferrari when he actually bought, like, a Volkswagen. Like, I wouldn't
You
change
would.
something like
Oh,
that.
you would.
No.
It was really a Lamborghini, but he's saying Ferrari, and that's just
He
to
was
throw
actually
us.
18 and a half, so
Yeah.
that's what you'd say.
The Ferrari seems super real.
Oh, they are. I've seen them.
And I don't know. I mean, I keep questioning, are they? Aren't they? Are they only in movies? Who knows?
Might be CGI.
And that Jack Wilde wearing platforms seems complex for the dancing, because he does a lot of dancing. But maybe they weren't like crazy platforms.
You know what? I think Rodney knows the real answer and he's trying to throw Elise off. I think that's what's happening.
yeah, I
Maybe he
should've
only
waited.
wore the platforms in the scenes with Mark Lester, and then with his dance scenes, all the other boys were of equal or lesser height. And so he just did his thing. I once wore platforms and I could not dance in them. I had to take them off and walk down the road without them.
You were just walking down the road dancing?
Just wanted to be taller that day.
It involved the Rocky Horror Picture Show and some ill-conceived decisions involving platforms and pleather.
Wow.
So you saw it live?
2 Ps.
See,
No, I saw it in a theater. There was lots of toilet paper. It was weird. Like no one was even using the restroom.
What is that?
I can't wait till we talk about Rocky Horror because I have such mixed feelings about it. Back to the game.
Back to reality, yo. Let me think.
I am going to ask for your decisions immediately. No more time to think. Who wants to go first?
No one's answering. I think Rodney wants to go first. Because I have to make sure I don't pick the same answer, so.
Okay, so I have to choose the fake one.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Oh, I have a gut instinct, but now I'm really questioning it. I'm gonna go crazy. I'm okay. I'm gonna say the Ferraris one's not real.
The Ferrari one is not real, is what he's saying.
Wow. Okay.
And I can neither confirm nor deny that at this
Conform?
moment. I can't confirm that.
Could you though, please just conform it so that I'm right?
Elise, what are you thinking?
Okay. I'm going to go with I'm going to say that the Snow Cold one.
You say no to snow?
No to snow.
Let me start by saying this.
Oh, boy.
Neither one of you picked Jack Wilde had to wear platform shoes. But wait, well, hold on. That was true. So either one of you could be right at this point.
Okay.
I don't know how to break the news now.
Drum roll?
Yeah, let's do a drum roll.
It's going to sound horrible. Oh, that's going to
The
sound...
winner is... Elise is the winner.
Is that a
That
joke?
was my gut. That was my gut.
Yeah, no, the Ferrari, that was true.
Yes.
He bought a Ferrari when he turned 18. Or that's true as far as I know.
Yeah.
Let's say that.
Let's say that.
So don't get in any hot water. So no, the boy for sale scene was actually filmed during the summer.
Indoors. So my gut instinct was right.
Yeah. And they actually they made weird concoctions to look like snow. Some of it being actually mashed potatoes.
It's weird.
A confusing life choice.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't seem like it looked that real.
I didn't think it looked fake, but I think maybe knowing that, if you went back and watched it again, you might be able to tell.
Did you spot the mashed potatoes after discovering it?
No, but I
That's what
really
I'm
hope it
wondering.
was the snowball that they threw at Oliver.
And he's like, food.
Food. More. Can I have
Glorious
some more snowball? Elise, you win that last game.
Heck.
I want to give Rodney a chance to redeem himself because, Rodney, I mean, you just made a fool of yourself.
I did. I'm a terrible human
Yeah,
being.
he says this is his favorite musical.
I didn't say it was my favorite musical.
Oh, really?
What is your favorite? What is your favorite, by the way? We need to have you
Oh,
on.
that's such a hard decision.
Oh, I thought this was your favorite.
No, I just purposely picked an offbeat one that I assumed no one else had dibs on because I really like it, but it's not my favorite.
All right, so I think it's time to play. What song is that from?
Hey, wait a second, I gotta know. What song is that from?
I like it.
I came up with that.
All right, so I'm going to give you 5 lyrics. After each lyric, we'll try to figure out which song it is. I'm going to keep score. And if you're playing along at home, feel free to keep score. See if you can beat Rodney
Are we doing?
or Elise.
Are we doing like he goes and then I go and then he goes and then I go?
Yeah, we'll do that. I only have 5 lyrics, so this will be over fast.
I'm gonna lose because I don't know these songs.
Yeah, you're going to lose.
It's okay. I'm alright with losing.
Yeah, because you won the last thing.
Yeah, so then it'll be even, and he won't have to cry when he goes home.
I might still cry when I go home.
Okay, we'll start with Rodney then, our guest of honor today.
Feel so honored.
Here is your lyric. Is it such a humiliation for a robber to perform an honest job?
That's the song that Fagin sings. I'm reviewing the situation. It's very Jewish and kind of Yiddish and sounds like it should have been on Fiddler on the Roof. But we have a game to play, so I'll stop.
Bump. Beautiful. Very beautiful.
Go. Pretend.
Literally not standing. We're going to take this time now for anybody at home to stand up if they would like.
Standing go.
Oh, she really
the
stood up.
disadvantages of a radio podcast.
Yeah. That is correct, obviously. That is from Reviewing the Situation. Great job, Rodney. Was that easy for you? Did you get it pretty much right off the bat?
Yeah, I couldn't think of the song title for a second, but then it all panned out.
Great. You got 1 point.
Hooray!
Okay, here we go. This one's for you, Elise. Oh, she's not going to get this.
So much faith.
I recall he started small. That's it.
Are you? That's really all you're gonna give.
I can maybe sing it for you. Wait, but before I do that, Rodney, do you know what this one was from?
I do. I'm thinking of the title, but I know who sings it, and I know the song it's in, and I know the scene. I'm just trying to think of the title of it.
I think I could sing it. I recall he started small. I think that's how it goes. Does that sound fit?
It sounded Jewish again.
It is kind of a Jewish sounding song.
Maybe Rodney should sing it.
But what if he doesn't actually know?
Now I'm questioning it, because when you sang it like that, I'm going, that sounds like a different song.
Uh-oh.
I think, okay, now I've changed my opinion now that I've heard you sing a sample.
I recall he started small. No, I think I changed it from that.
You did. You did.
Imagine a group of kids singing it. I think that might help. But maybe they don't sing that part. Dang it. There are kids singing in this song.
Is it You've Gotta Pick a Pocket?
It is.
It is?
Yay! What do you think it was originally?
So I actually thought it was 3 different songs as the clues progressed.
Okay. That makes me feel better.
I thought it was the song at the beginning with Mr. Bumble said it, and then I thought it was Oom-pah-pah the first time you sang it, like the part where she's just talking lyrics. And then when you said children, I was like, oh, it's Pick a Pocket.
Yeah. I think they're talking about Bill Sykes at this point in the song. We're tied then. We got 1-1. All right, back to you, Rodney. Then the drinks are on the house.
It's a Fine Life?
Ooh. Final answer?
It's that or Oom-pah-pah.
Well, that's cheating. You just basically gave it away.
What, me?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Oom-pah-pah then.
No. It's not Oom-pah-pah. It's actually from Consider Yourself.
Oh, I even remember that line.
Then the drinks are on the house. Consider yourself well in.
Oh.
I love Oliver's. I think that actually is his voice. The one time I used Mark Lester's voice is when he's like, part of the family.
That was cute.
Yeah, because he's kind of like talking it.
Yeah.
That was cute.
I'm going to consider myself a loser.
Consider yourself still at 1 point. Good one, James. Oh, boy. All right, so Elise, this is your chance to.
This is my time to shine.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. Mm-hmm. Here is your lyric, Elise. Mm-hmm. Would you climb a hill?
I wouldn't. What's the lyric?
So easy.
Would you climb a hill?
Would I climb a hill? Mm-hmm. I'd do anything.
Dang it!
Oh, man. Yes, it's from I'd Do Anything. Was that your favorite song again? Didn't you say it was?
Climb every hill.
And also mountains too.
There we go.
Why'd you get that one right now? The best I can do is tie with you.
Wow. Standing O again.
Oh, man, that's funny. Gosh, I don't know what to do now because I have a last lyric. And that would go to Rodney, so you could tie it here.
I could, as has been sung by
then
someone.
I feel like I would need to give Elise another try because then...
As would be equitable.
Yes. He will curse the day. That is your lyric, sir.
All right, and I think I know who sings it. Now I'm figuring out where they sing it. Oliver. He'll curse the day that someone named him Oliver.
Yes. You got it right, man. Okay, so we got a tie.
Sudden death.
I'm scared.
If you get it right, you win, though.
Elise, here's your lyric. Does it fall from skies above?
I know this one.
Oh, great. Oh, is it food?
No.
Oh, no.
Do I get to steal for the win?
Yeah, I feel like that's a fair thing. That'll end this game, too.
But now...
steal for the win.
Where is the win? It's right here.
Still don't know.
It's Where Is Love. And actually, that wasn't Rodney singing. That was the arranger's daughter.
Common misconception.
All right, great job,
That makes
Rodney.
sense. I like that lyric.
Yeah. I really like that song. When it was happening, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this song. But the more I thought, like, that's a beautiful song.
I feel like it's the Somewhere Out There of Oliver.
Somewhere. Is that Fievel?
Out there beneath the pale moon sky.
Awesome. Well, guys, I think we need to rate this movie to wrap things up. But before we rate this, I'm gonna say something because I heard you, Rodney, once say that you and your fiance, by the way, congratulations.
Thank you.
You once told me that you two have this game where you try to see what the rating is on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, that's interesting.
So we do. It's a little ridiculous. But I track with a lot of movie news. So the second reviews start coming out on top of them, and I will very playfully ask her what she thinks it's at, and then with just no context, just keep saying no until she gets it. And sometimes she'll ask me if it's higher or lower, and depending how generous I'm feeling, I may or may not give an answer. And this can go on for a very long time with lots of giggling. And then eventually we land there.
With your permission, I would like to steal this bit from you this episode.
I like it.
And maybe in further episodes. I don't know. We'll see.
It's not like I'm listening or anything.
Yep.
All right. Well, great. I think, Elise, we're going to start with you since you've never done this before. Obviously, Rodney's a pro at this, I guess, but probably on the other end of things. But Elise, I want to see, what do you think this is rated on Rotten Tomatoes?
I think this is probably... Wait, are we talking the critics or the audience score?
It's actually the same with this one.
Exactly?
Exactly the same.
That's actually very strange.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say that it is a 79%.
79%. I'd say that's a fair guess.
Yeah, I think so.
Rodney, what would you say?
81.
Oh my gosh. He said that he knew that.
Well, it is his non-favorite musical, so...
You knew that one. You were holding it in.
I did. The second you started, I was like, "Oh, are we doing for this? I actually know this."
Yes. So 81%,
I was
which
close,
I think
though.
You were. You would have.
close.
That was not bad.
And that being said, I want to start our round of personal ratings with me
really
because
personal.
I think that's exactly where I would rate it for me as well. I'd say it's about an 8 if I had to rate it. And we do ratings from 1 to 10. And so, yeah, I think for me, it's right there at an 8. There's some things that I don't know. I don't know if I would change it. I guess I really liked how things were done, but maybe it's just dated now a little bit.
Yeah.
An 8's good for me. What about you, Rodney?
So I'm just going to be obstinate and use a different rating system.
Oh,
'cause
please.
Oh, here we go.
I can't-
Encourage it.
I can't do the 10. So Roger Ebert is my hero when it comes to all forms of film criticism. And he did the 4-star rating with half-star options. So you have 0 to 4. And yeah, I just can't think of ratings outside of that. So I got to go with that.
Gotcha.
That's fine.
I would give it a 3.5. I don't think it's a perfect film, but I think it's very bold in what it does. It takes a story that doesn't yell musical and it goes there. Now, obviously, that wasn't pioneered by the people who made the film, but they decided to put it on film. And I think they did it very cinematically. I think it's cast well. I think it's done well. And something Roger Ebert also said is you kind of have to judge a movie by what it is, not by rewriting the whole thing. So I think by what they were doing and attempting to do, I think in the scope of that, without just getting into a total rewrite of the whole darn thing, I think they gave 3.5 out of the potential 4 of what they were attempting. Because I think the place they could have gone a little deeper was maybe in a performance level, giving a little more time to some of the characters, because it was very plot driven. Even though I think it's filled with great characters, things like his first time he goes to steal, he gets caught. And the first time he leaves the house with the books, he gets kidnapped. It didn't really give a good cycle of life feeling like, oh, these are real people living in a real world. And now look at these interrupters, because every single thing that happened was a life interrupter. And that's not really the way the world works.
It just
it's very yells plot.
It kind of made Oliver just kind of look like he has bad luck.
Yeah.
Like he's jinxed.
And so I think like some repetition of his life in the orphanage at the beginning, some repetition of like him coming into being a pickpocket, and then a repetition of his life. But that's not what they did. But I still think it was extremely effective. So for me, it's 3.5 out of 4.
Yeah.
And in another piece of casting trivia that I find really interesting, I think Nancy is spot on. And actually, there was controversially considered Shirley Bassey to play the role, and they ultimately opted that they didn't think that a movie could be financially successful with a black Nancy. But Shirley Bassey did the role on Broadway quite a bit, very famously, and a lot of the recordings are her.
I did not know that. Interesting.
Rate that fact.
Oh, I get to rate a fact today. I'll give it a 9. I'll give it a 3.5. How about that? 3.5 stars.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you were doing a revenge thing.
No, it was
Okay.
3.5
I feel
stars.
so honored.
Gotcha.
Elise, what would you rate this musical?
I'm going to give it...
Brand new, fresh in your mind, less than a day since you've seen it.
Yeah, and yet I still can't remember anything. I'm going to give it a 7.7.
Okay.
Because I liked certain things. You said it was dated, and that's kind of how I felt. I mean, it's not... I just shouldn't blame it on that, but it's kind of part of it. I felt like I liked the songs in the movie, but they're not songs that I would feel like I would be listening to all the time, or they're not songs that get me like pumped.
You don't want to walk around being like, consider yourself part of the furniture. Which is one of the best analogies, by the way.
Yeah,
like to say you're
good.
So comfortable around us, you're basically like furniture. I seriously do love that
And
one.
there's, people using you. There's that too.
All right.
Foreshadowing.
And then there's that.
But no, I get that. I think regular listeners of this program would say this probably doesn't line up with what Elise would jam in her car.
Wow, everybody would know that already?
I think so.
Wow.
James has actually put some
It's not a
microphones
bad-
in your car, so that has a little something
excellent.
to do with
Well,
it.
yeah, that's
Excellent.
that too. 7.7, very holy of you.
Thank you. At least it wasn't 6.66.
What's interesting is you guys both talked about it being a little dated, and I can see aspects of that, although I think it's aged extremely well.
Yeah.
But I think the thing people remember related to the date is actually a different film that came out that year that this film beat for the Oscar, and I think most cinephiles would say that the other film has had more historical significance. This actually beat out 2001: A Space Odyssey for Best Picture.
I didn't know that. I love 2001. That's such a good movie.
And definitely shaped a lot of modern day sci-fi, whereas I don't know that Oliver necessarily shaped a lot of where musicals went. I'd say the closest thing we have post Oliver that was shaped by it would maybe be Les Mis, which has very much been its own thing, but in terms of the cinematic version of Les Mis.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird because like I didn't going into this, I think I knew the quote, the Dickens quote, the please sir, may I have some more? But other than that, I don't think I could name any of the songs. So like,
Yeah.
like as far as part of pop culture, it wasn't as prevalent as something like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Because I mean, everybody knows the bum 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 bum. I mean, that's you even if you've never seen that movie, you know that. So that's very interesting. I did not know it beat that. I don't know if I agree with that either. That's very interesting. Let's wrap it up. I think that was a thanks for being here, Rodney.
Thanks for having me, guys. I feel extremely honored to be here.
Well, yeah, consider yourself
At
part of the
home.
family.
Oh,
Wow. Thanks,
we should
guys.
really get on the same page.
Well, guys, I think next week we're doing The King and I.
Oh,
Is that right?
I don't know.
I think we were going to do the Muppets and we watched it again and we were like, oh, there's barely any songs in this.
We've all made that mistake.
So maybe we'll like combine some Muppets or maybe rate some Muppet movies as far as musical songs go, but just for a one-off, it's kind of sparse. But I think we replaced it with The King and I, so I've never seen The King and I, actually. Another one I've never seen.
Even though I'm not going to be here that week, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, getting to know what your podcast's like, getting to like you.
I didn't know that was from The King and I, and now I do.
We're just being educated left and right.
Guys, follow us on Twitter at WRLM Podcast or on Instagram at We Really Like Musicals. And we're going to put up a thing about The King and I this following week. So you can give us an alternate title on what The King and I should have been called. What you think it should have been called. And please make it funny. Because some of you guys don't get it.
James!
I'm just being honest. Oh, well. Anyways, I think that's going to be it for this episode. Guys, thanks for listening to We Really Like Musicals and we have opinions about them. So we made this podcast to tell you our opinions about them, parentheses, the musicals. Rodney, thanks again for being here.
Thank you, guys.
I'm James, and that is a clapper.
And also, my name is Elise.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys next time. Not really, but you'll hear us. Bye.
Please, sir, can I have some more?
Musicals, Jesse.